97.7 The Q and 98 Gold. Welcome to Toyville. Stephen Sherrill with you here, hanging out on Therapy Thursday with Dr. Nicki
Do my
Monty.
little Therapy Thursday dance. I really have to stop doing that. It looks a little like I stole something from a very, well, somebody who thinks he's very important. I guess a lot of other people do, who dances in a very bad way whenever he speaks. I don't know why.
Well, he does it a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to describe what it looks like he's doing, but
no, it's
no, it doesn't. It doesn't look like it's going well.
yeah.
So I can't say what I'm thinking on the radio. So
I know, nor can I, but I can hear you.
Right? Yep. It's so funny when you do that little thing. What it reminds me of is years ago, I interviewed the guy who played Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, and he was in Phantom of the Opera. And he goes, and it's not going to be like me out there dancing. I am Phantom of the Opera. So it was very funny to see Freddy Krueger dancing like that.
Okay, so my takeaway is that I remind you of Freddy Krueger.
Just the dance, just the funny dance that he was doing a funny dance too. Listen, out of the two, who would you rather be compared to?
Yeah. Good point. I'll take Freddie all day long.
It is Therapy Thursday, and we're here with Dr. Nicki Monty. So week after week, we're joined by Dr. Nicki Monty, and we record on Tuesdays. We air this on Thursdays at 8 o'clock Central Time, just after the 8 o'clock news, if you guys want to tune in. And as often as Steve can get it up there, it's on our YouTube page as well. So you guys can check that out. And if you have thoughts on things going on in yourself, she's here to help you. We're just kind of a conduit to that. A lot of times we have our own things going on, which is where we often will delve off to anyway, things that are going on with me, things that are going on with Cheryl as well. But we had a resident of Toyville send in a question for last week's show. And then Dr. Nicki covered it a little bit and asked for some follow-up things, which he did. He sent in some follow-up that we passed along to Dr. Nicki. So last week he had asked why he felt like he was never enough, and then came back and kind of said that really wasn't the thing. So I'm gonna let you take it from here on where his writings went to and where it led you to.
Well, I want to be a little circumspect about this, and it brings me to the first point. And thank you, Steve. And it's always great to be with you guys. It brings me to the first point, which is that he really doesn't want the details of what he wrote to me talked about in a sort of a straight way, because he's concerned about being identified. And so that would be my first interesting point. First of all, I do want to say to this fellow, and I appreciate the idea that at some points we can invite people who really want to have a conversation with me at the time, live and in person. Well, not in person, live and Zoom, at any point to ask you if they can come live when we are taping, which would be fantastic. I love that. I love those interactions. And I want to say that I suggested writing, which I suggest to everybody, and I do it in different forms. So I have singer-songwriters. I say, write a song about it. I have poets. I say, write a poem about it. I have people who already are doing journaling, journal about it. But if you've never, I don't really write it. Okay, then make a list about it, right? In some way, get yourself onto the page, because when you start writing, all kinds of things pop up and it inspires new understanding. Just doing the writing inspires, and people are very hesitant. So if you are afraid somebody will see it, write it and burn it. I don't care, or delete it, or wherever you're doing it. But the point is, have a relationship, a conversation with yourself that you can then go back and read and look at what you've written, because it's going to reveal a lot to you. And what this individual did was, for the first time, according to what he said in his life, he wrote about some things that have been very dear to him and secret to him. And, they weren't wild, awful things he had done. None of that. It was all about these feelings he had never discussed with anyone. And now he discussed them with this paper that he wrote, this monologue, or whatever you would say. And I found it extraordinarily brave that he did in the first place, because he's never done it before in his life. And I started writing stories when I was, I think 8. One of my first stories, and I think I was 9 when I wrote it, one of my first, what I thought was really a hell of a story, was a simple little piece called Destiny. And it was about, I was kind of a deep child at Destiny. And it was about a town called Destiny, where everyone would go to find their destiny. Okay, it was
Oh,
a
wow.
little on the head.
Mhm.
I've got to be a
But
much better
but
writer
for a
over
kid, I
it.
mean,
Yeah.
For a
it's
kid,
kind of deep. Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of deep. Well, my nickname by the time I was 9, by my peers, given by my peers, was Mrs. Poe, Mrs. Edgar Allan Poe,
Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh,
the dark
nice.
poet. Yeah. So the Raven and those kinds of things. So
Mhm.
it's a little bit on the dark side. But I had a lot of, I was very helpful to people. I was kind of the mother surrogate. I was in boarding school for 11 years, which my upcoming book talks about. But I was in boarding school for 11 years, and I felt like a throwaway. You really can't start boarding school at 6 and not feel like, what did I do wrong? Why are they getting rid of me? And so my solution, I suppose, one of my solutions was to take care of everybody else. So I didn't know I was a therapist in training at the time. I was planning to be a famous actress. So, oh well. And but I had this great training in being this person who took care of everybody else. And I have a picture of me as I don't know, I must be 2, and overdressed as always, because I've maintained that from it was obviously not my fault at 2, but that kept going my whole life. Overdressed, and I'm sitting in a chair like this, and I'm just a little girl, and I'm sitting in a chair, and I'm looking like this, and it looks like I'm doing a session. It looks exactly like I'm doing a session, and it was just one of those, child photo shoots.
Hmm.
But I'll find it at some point and bring
That's
a picture.
funny.
But anyway, so we start these patterns very early on, and we don't understand what we're doing, and the sort of the um, assumptions we're making. And the 3 of us have talked about this. The assumptions we're making about ourselves based on our experiences, our parenting, the world around us, what's happening in the moment, in the globe. Now, of course, we know every minute of it, but even then, you can feel it. There's a connection we have to what I call the all. Right? There's a plug-in we have to the collective. Jung called the collective. One of the things. So I bet our listeners listening. And I want to say thank you so much. It was a very moving communication, and generous, and a little heartbreaking, because I know what it's like to keep emotional secrets. I did it for a long, long time. I did it in my marriage, you know, is my marriage is. I did it all throughout my life. I kept secrets because if you knew what I was really feeling and thinking, if you knew the struggles that I have inside, you would certainly not be interested in knowing me or being with me or loving me or feeling that you could take my advice. And of course, the more consternation I faced, or the more trauma drama I created, or the more experiences that other people would say, "Oh, those were dreadful experiences," and "Me too," and all the things that people would do. Well, guess what? Every single one of those experiences built the house called Dr. Nicki. And I'm proud of that house. I love that house. It has disrepair now and again. I have to do some, redecorating or fixing some cracks or doing whatever I do to keep it going and be sure that it's not infected with any vermin of any kind or something hasn't snuck in. But basically, I finally love and like myself. And that is been a job in itself. If I did nothing else in my life, that was a job to get to
Wow.
that point from where I started. And, just in a little bit of, just say my own story a little bit, which I think a listener or several listeners will concur with or experience, is that my father left when I was 4. And I thought he left me. He didn't leave me, he left my mother. But I didn't know that. I thought he left me. And so, and I thought my mother sent me to boarding school at 6 because there was something wrong with me. It had nothing to do with me. But I didn't know that because we always take everything personally, right? And then we start to form all this information about how we need to live our lives. Oh, you know what? If I spend my life taking care of other people or working really, 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 really hard all the time, then I will prove that I'm worth caring about, loving, existing. If I can do all that, I will prove that I'm worthy of your attention. Somebody, I'm working on a project, and somebody asked me in preparing for the project, "What are you most proud of in your life?" I have a lot of things to be proud of, and I have a lot of things to be a little bit not so proud of. But and I found myself writing. I'm proud of the book that's coming out. Of course, it's most current in my mind. But I'm proud of being able to work on this book the last years, while, continuing my business and choosing love first, finally. Choosing family first, finally. Because my whole life, I figured out how to do everything and be the one everybody turns to. And it was all about this and this. And again, only because I wanted you to remember me. And I was going to do all that stuff, but I never really chose love first. So I will book out to go be with family, my partner's family. I will, Tom said to me very early on in our time together, he said, honey, I am so proud of the work you do. And I love your attention to it, and that you're giving so much attention to writing this book and all of the things you do. I'm impressed by it, and I'm proud of it. However, if you're going to work the way you work now, this relationship isn't going to happen. You're going to need to figure that out. Yeah. And I immediately cut back on my work. Immediately. Because I had discovered, a little late in life, but I had discovered that love wants to come first. And it's this thing I always say, who's going to be, circling your bed, your deathbed, right? And when you're on your deathbed, you will never say, nobody on the planet will ever say, I wish I'd spent another day in the office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're going to say, who have I loved? How have I loved? Who's loved me? Who's here? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So how does that start? How does that start? Well, first of all, just talking about that secret piece, hiding ourselves, our feeling selves. What really is the point of that? And I have to say, in an odd way, and this will not be popular, but I think it's selfish. I don't think it's kind to others or makes us reliable or believable or, any of the things that we think we're doing. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that happens when we keep emotional secrets. I think it makes us small, and
Inauthentic.
inauthentic. It supports our fears. It reinforces our doubts.
Mhm.
And if we want to find purpose in the world, for instance, if we want to find our purpose, and by the way, I think with purpose, which I work with a lot of people, I just started working with somebody he just turned 40, and he's got everything in the world that you need. He's got the money, and he's got the beautiful partner, and he's healthy and buffed up and all the things. And he thought if he had all the things, that would be great. But guess what? It isn't.
Mm-hmm. That would make everything better or fix everything.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great that he did all that. So he doesn't have to worry about peanut butter for his bread tomorrow. But the other thing is he feels the emptiness because he's not been in contact with his emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's
that
one of those
happens
things that you've talked to me about before, when you go from like this job to that job to this job to that job, and you're having this problem and that problem, but the one thing that you forget is that you're still there.
You're still there everywhere you
It's the same
go.
with
Yeah.
relationships. It's the same with friendships. It's the same with you're still, unless you deal with your stuff. You know what I mean? You're gonna have a hard time.
That's right. And what is your stuff? Your stuff is mostly based on an idea that you formed when you were a little person about what you deserve and what you don't deserve, and who you really are, and what you can believe in and what can you not believe in, and then if that never changes, whoops, because we get to keep growing. We get to keep growing. And again, as I've said very recently, over and over again, well-being leads to well-doing. People do it the other way around. I'm going to do a lot of good stuff, and then I'll be okay. No, well-being leads to well-doing. And even if you're doing great, you'll be doing better if you have well-being. Right. So this secret keeping, which is, the real pandemic of our times, one of them, we've got a bunch. So what does that lead to? It leads to falsity, as you say, Shel, inauthenticity. And all of those feelings, twist up together inside, and eventually they rot. And we feel rotten because the feelings are rotted within us.
Well, and I'm wondering too if, because I'm sitting here thinking, if you attract to yourself that what you need, but you're denying what you need because you've got secrets,
right?
And what you're going to get is not really what you need. So you're always going to have a void.
Right.
And then that person gives you advice and you're like, why are you telling me to do that? That's not even, it's not the way. It makes no sense, but it makes no sense because you're putting something out that really isn't you.
Right.
And you're not doing it on purpose. That's my thing. I'm trying to figure out how, if it's subconscious, is it that you always need to go to a shrink and like work at this on a constant so that because it's not like anybody wakes up in the morning to be deceitful and I'm going to hide everything. And It's not like
Well, some people wake up in the morning, but there are some.
but I mean, yeah, most people though, like you're not contracting for that, right? Right. So I just
Yeah.
wonder how you get.
No, that's right. That's right. But we know we're keeping secrets. We know we're keeping emotional secrets. You're not. It's just that we don't think that has anything to do with what's going on in our life.
Mhm.
You know, we think that well, it's a secret, and it's my secret, and it's only affecting me, and it isn't only affecting you. So, but also, do you have to just go to a shrink? No, you can get some information from somewhere else. And, like this fellow who took immediately, I mean, he is primed for some great coaching therapy, whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
He's primed for it because this is a person. I mean, I have people who pay me a bunch of money and I say, go right. And they come in. So did you? No. Okay. So
Right,
if
he
you're not
follows
going to take,
instructions.
don't want to take
Mhm.
direction, what are you going to learn? So, but the thing about having an outsider talk to you, or somebody who's not you, who has some good, and whose attention is purely about you, and maybe has some resonance with what's happening inside you, is that you are telling the information you're giving yourself is all within the frame of what you know. What you know is I'm not good enough, or I don't deserve, or I don't know what I want to do now, right? So first of all, so let me go back to this thing about purpose. This happens, I think we reclaim, rename, and change in some ways our purpose as we go along.
Yeah.
Now I know that my soul's purpose is, and I had this made this discovery a few decades ago, and I thought it was a brand new discovery I was making. And I rushed home to tell my husband. I was so excited about it. And I said, yeah, I went to this, I was at this workshop and, Brett, I came out and I figured out I was born to serve. And he goes, well, yeah. Everybody knew that. Why is this a new? How is this a
Right.
new?
What's with the epiphany? Right. Right.
No. I was born to serve. It was my soul's intention. He said, yeah, everybody knows that, Nicki.
Right, but it was new to you.
It was new to have it be this thing that rose up in me like a swelling river. And I was doing it, but I didn't know I was following my soul's purpose. And it doesn't matter what the shape of that is. Mine happens to be, healing. And somebody else's, might be a server in a restaurant, that's also, or serving the family, but not everyone is born to serve. That, would be, everyone would like to think they are, but that's not really true. What is your soul's intention? Well, that's a big conversation, and that's later. But my point is, we can, and I would put forth the idea that we really should. I don't love the should word. Rediscover ourselves over and over again. And so for somebody who's done that, who's had a bunch of jobs or done different things or tried different avenues to feel better and more complete, I say, yay for you. There's nothing to be self-loathing about or, self-critical about in that. So that would be one thing. But the emotional secrets are not helping anybody in the world, people. No. This is what connects us. And within that conversation around connection, I just want to bring up a little bit Job. Though I'm not a religious person, I am a spiritual person. And Jung, who's one of, my jam, Carl Jung, wrote this book called Answer to Job. And Answer to Job, Job is the archetype, the representative, so to speak, of suffering. right? And there's a lot of conversation about suffering and a lot of sort of poor me, I suffer. And even those who don't say poor me about it, the suffering is the suffering, right? It's hard. We wonder why. Why do good people have to, why do people try? And why does it look like that guy who should suffer more is not suffering?
Right.
It just doesn't seem right.
Uh-huh.
Right. He's some people are spreading the suffering, and they don't look like they're suffering. And I would postulate that they are suffering, but it doesn't look the way we think it should. Okay. So the question was why Job. We can go into a whole thing about if God is omnipotent and omnipotent. Why did he have to make a bet with Satan or Satan, depending upon how you pronounce it, about Job and how he would respond if he was made to suffer? We won't go there. But anyway, there was this test, and this went on, and Job was suffering and suffering and suffering and suffering. Everything, he lost everything. And every time he lost it, Satan would say to God, yeah, but if you took away his this, then really would he still stay faithful to you? On and on it went. And finally, he said, yeah, but if you make him really ill and his body is all, would he still stay faithful to you? And so all that happened, and there was some crying and whining and carrying on, as one would under extreme suffering of losing everything. And in the conclusion, there were two things that were takeaways for me, and my understanding of where Jung was going with this is, one, Job realized that the kind of faith he was exhibiting was in many ways superficial. And so he was brought to his knees about what his true faith is to some degree. Right? But more important to me is this: why we suffer, why we have pain, why we go into all of the stuff that we go into about it. Most pain we have, by the way, is caused by our perception of what's happening rather than what's actually happening. But why that happens is because we are human, and it enriches, enlarges, and proclaims the basis for our humanity. So we become ever more conscious of our own humanity within and from our suffering, again, depending upon how we choose to perceive it. So what's the deal? What does that mean? It means that we are as important to God, for those who believe in that, in the word God, we are as important to God as God is to us. Because God has no humanity. How could God have humanity? God's not human. So suffering brings out, what Jung calls it is, we are the other face of God.
Wow.
Pretty beautiful. It's worth
Yeah,
a little.
I've never heard it said like that.
Yeah. And so I would say, in my way, in my more spiritual, less religious kind of way, I would say we are the face of humanity. Each of us is the face of humanity. And our dedication needs to be to being the best version of that face of humanity. So if I'm keeping secret my pain or my fear or my concern or my moments of not feeling like I'm enough, or am I going to be all in for love? What? That didn't work out so well all my life. Why would I do that now? If I'm going to do that and I'm going to hold myself back and shut myself down and not give it all I've got, whatever it is, I am spitting in the eye of all of humanity. and of this great gift I've been given to be the human being. Now, the East Indian religions and faiths believe that all suffering is resistance. So the more we push against, the more the suffering will be. The more we surrender, the less suffering we will have. So the more we refuse to reveal our true self, our authentic selves, our feeling selves, the more we'll suffer. The more we tell the truth about our feelings. And what's really going to happen? I'm afraid I'll never find my true purpose. What? I mean, is the earth going to open up and swallow you? You know what will happen when we tell the truth? People flock to you to say, I know, me too. Me too. Oh, I'm so embarrassed about the thing I did, when I was 17, I did such and such. I know, right? I didn't do that, but I did this. And all of a sudden we're in a relationship, which I think is the most beautiful thing there is.
Well, and let's say someone is going to judge you. You just learn they're not supposed to be in your circle per se. Like they have a limited appreciation of where you've been.
Right.
That's probably not what they call in Hebrew your chevra. You're like
yeah.
But
yeah. That's true. And it's not about you. Again, going back to my father leaving. It's not about you. It's not personal. They're not liking what you said or being afraid of what you said or judging you for what you said. Is really them about them.
Right.
Afraid that you will find out something about them and you will judge them and then you will cut them off and then you will, etc. So that, maybe they're beating you to the punch or whatever they're doing. And so, again, to remember that if there is a notion, which is a hard thing to learn in the first place, but once you learn it, you're gold or golden, is that everything, all healing is a change and a shift of perception. Perception is everything. And what we do is we go through the world projecting, taking our feelings, thoughts, hopes, wishes, dreams, hesitations, doubts, and judgments, and throwing them onto the screen called other. And what if every thought you had was really about someone else? Ooh, that's a terrible choice of what's happening over there. What if it was, if I wasn't thinking about her, what would I be thinking about myself right now? What if everything is really self-centered? Now, I always say, so we talk about selfishness and people love to throw around the word narcissism and all of that. And there's healthy narcissism. Everybody has narcissism. Everybody. We're supposed to. Like when a kid is a little toddler, they're supposed to be the attention seeking. And we're supposed to give them attention. We're not supposed to push them off as if they don't matter. Because now they're going to have to try to spend their life getting what they didn't have when they were little. But I say this, that being self-centered, which so many people are right now, social media being a, kerosene thrown on that fire. But anyway, self-centered wants to move to being self-centered. Can we be centered in ourselves? And offer ourselves authentically to other. So, maybe it starts today for someone with writing some brave piece that they've never written about themselves, to look themselves in the eye, and then to break down each piece of that. Have I really not done this? Have I really not succeeded here? If we believe, and many people come to this, that I'm empty and I don't have much to offer and, nobody knows who I am and I don't want anybody to know who I am anyway, or wherever we go in this direction, is it really true? Is it really true? How could you? It's like when people come to me and they say, I have no feelings. You can't not have feelings. How did you communicate when you were a baby? What do you mean you have no feelings?
Right.
Yeah.
You may have stuffed them down, but you have them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Good stuff.
So as we wrap up, is
I'm
is
sorry,
there
I'm just in a lecturing frenzy
no,
here.
no, 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 we
It's great.
is there anywhere that you need to go with the resident of Deweyville that sent in the stuff? Is there anywhere that you need to go with that follow
I
up?
really, I know this is going
I
to,
know he didn't want to get detailed, so it
I
kind of
know.
got eccentric
This
today. But
is,
yeah,
I know this is, there's two things. Uh, one is an offering,
Mhm.
and which is that this person is welcome. And I don't do this a lot because you imagine I would have no time to do anything else. But
Sure.
he or she is welcome to write me directly
Mhm.
at Dr. Nicki at stucknomore.com.
Okay.
Okay. So
Mhm.
that's one thing. And I'll do a little bit of a dialogue with him. I'm not going to do, therapy by email, but I
Sure.
will I'll give some, be a little more detailed. And the other thing is, and this is the totally self-serving part. That wasn't that was other serving. Read my new book, The Divine Dramedy of Nicki Joy, a true crime tale. Because when I read what was written,
Mhm.
I'm telling you that this person will to some degree, she will recognize themselves
Mhm.
in my book. And my book is not it's a memoir, but what I did each step of the way to start to heal myself from my dreadful self-contempt I think will give some information about what direction to go in.
All right. Well, if you want to find out more about Dr. Nicki Monty, about the books, about what she's got going on, you can follow Dr. Nicki Monty on Facebook, Instagram, or visit stucknomore.com.
And very soon this week, in fact, I think the pre-sales are going to begin certainly by Monday, but by our next talk, the pre-sales are going to begin. So you better get with it to be listening to the book, people.
Mhm.
And how can they find the pre-sales? Do we know yet?
Yeah, well, they'll be able to find it, on social
All the
media,
places.
but also I'll give you, and
A
on my
link.
website,
Mhm.
stucknomore.com, there's an author's page and,
Great.
that. So,
Awesome. All right, Dr. Nicki, thank you so much.
Okay.
Whoops. All right. We'll be
we've
back in a
been
little bit.
musicked off.
Right.
Sorry.
We'll be back in just a little bit.